Hi guys. I'm recording this video a little early this week because we're going camping on the weekend. I did review all the readings for this week, including on pandering, but I won't talk about that because I could talk about that for like 10 minutes. Now in Turkey City Lexicon, of course, that was so detailed and but some of it wasn't just for sci-fi. Some of it could be applied to any work, but certainly it was a big long list of, oh my goodness, all this terminology. I think it's kind of great that they actually created that, but anyhow, what I really found interesting was hardcore critique guidelines did have 7 main points that you could be looking for, but I felt like that was also could be applied to a whole work. Like if you were like a potential publisher and you were going to read a manuscript, you could be looking for those 7 things: plot, hook, characterization, point of view, style, dialogue, originality, and creativity. So I guess if I can look at applying those things to just like a section or paragraphs of what I'm reading of your guys' writing, then that's, those headings are good, to be looking for that kind of stuff. Like, is the point of view consistent? Unless it's a specific style thing that you're changing point of view. Now, it's hard for me to imagine how it's going to work with critiques on Critique It, but yeah, you're looking at paragraphs and flow that way. You're not going to be just giving like generalized stuff based on the whole story, because we might not be looking at the whole story. So my goal is to be able to find something constructive, and that's where we get, constructive criticism to me is in the root of the word constructive, something to build upon. I want to be able to give some substantial, something that's revealing enough. I'm your reader and this is my impression that I got from the way you wrote. And if that's not something you wanted to be communicating, I'm hoping that I can find like real concrete, specific things that are my impression as a reader. I don't know how much like editing we're going to be doing. It just depends on how rough the draft is. And I totally understand when there's time pressure, the drafts might be kind of rough. So that's my primary goal in giving feedback, is to give something very constructive. And it's going to be hard. I'm going to admit, like, I'm kind of old school. The last time I was in a workshop, there was a small class of 13 and you had, 13 printouts and you handed them around. We all wrote things on pen. So this Critique It is going to be a little bit different, to be actually doing these like bullet points, and you can even record a video for a certain section. I don't know. Like, I really won't, it's hard for me to imagine it until we start doing it. Now I watched Emily's video and I did a reply to Emily's video where I actually had a difference of opinion on something, and it was really hard to do. So I imagine that I'm really going to have to force myself out of my comfort zone to say something. It's not about negativity, but it's just about if I feel like I'm disagreeing, it's really hard for me. So I'm actually really not looking forward to critiquing that much. But I do want to say that I can't imagine guiding the critique myself. How much input, if any, should the author provide? I can't imagine providing any input. You're my readers, and I just want you to read it and tell me what you think. I don't want to influence what you might think by saying, well, I thought this about this and I'm worried about that. Like, I don't want to actually tell you ahead of time what my thoughts are, because your thoughts are what I'm looking for. My thoughts about my thoughts are irrelevant. I just want to know your thoughts. But I mean, I think there is some validity to maybe if you've got a fear about your writing and you say it, then of course it feels like you've softened the blow ahead of time, and that might be a technique that you really want to use. But I'm going to try to resist doing that because I just don't want to influence anybody. And in theory, like, if you have a class of 20, you're getting 19 critiques back. So if all 19 people didn't notice your worry, then you're golden. Really, like 19 people didn't notice, then it's a good thing you never told them to be looking for that, because it wasn't even there. Stephen King didn't have that much advice on critiques. He said vague feedback is not constructive. He told you what not to do more than what to do. He says, quote, vague feedback is not constructive, nothing to build upon. Non-specific critiques won't help when you sit down to your second draft, and it may hurt. Certainly none of the comments above, and he listed off some vague stuff, touch on the language of your piece, its narrative sense. Those comments are just went. So the language of the piece and the narrative sense, I kind of like the idea of looking for that, in paragraphs of writing that I'm critiquing. So anyhow, that's my video for this week.